we plan to proceed as follows now, to take the compendium of decisions we circulated earlier to allow you to have a look at them in the morning, namely items 9 on performance review, 12 on work programme and administrative budget for the Secretariat, 18 on the review of the initial investment framework, policy on co-financing, and 19 on matters related to the evaluation policy for decision. We will then take an update from our colleagues on number 17, matters related to the accreditation framework, but it will be an update because we're not yet ready to print on that one, or maybe we will be by the time that we get to that. On 10B, consideration and endorsement of the outcomes of the first formal replenishment process, an update, and possibly that will have been printed by the time we get to that too. And then we will go to 13A, the work programme and budget of the independent evaluation unit, where we'll be asking Joe Puri to put that to us because we suspended it yesterday pending agreement of 19 on of agenda item 19. In the meantime, a draft decision on gender, which I believe will meet with the approval of everyone in the room, is being printed, and it will be circulated to you on a no surprises basis, and Najmul Dean, because it's his item, will determine how much time you will need to look at that before he puts it for decision. And then, once we've done that, we'll get back to 17 and 10B. So that's the order we plan to go in. I hope we're making the procedure clearly enough. So let me then turn to back to agenda item 9 then, please, the performance review of the GCF, for which a draft decision was circulated this morning. It's called Draft Decision B24XX1, and the title is Agenda Item 9, Performance Review of the GCF. This is essentially a procedural decision. What's that? Has everybody located it? All right. It should be on your table, Richard. A group of 4 items were put round this morning, but I'll give members a moment or two to locate it. Okay. I hope members have located this now. It's a simple decision. It recalls decision B2306, paras B, C and D. It takes note of the Secretariat management response to the forward-looking performance review, and it decides to further consider the findings and recommendations in the forward-looking performance review and the Secretariat management response within its deliberations on the strategic plan for 2020 to 23. So, it's a procedural decision. Ayman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. The decision is fine except for paragraph C, where it says further consider. It says that we're deciding to further consider the recommendations here, and you know we have so much deliberations around the forward-looking performance review, which there was no general agreement around this. So how come we are agreeing to consider something that we are still debating? And I think this prejudges the nature of the discussion we're going to have. So I would just say that, you know, just modify it to say that we'll continue to discuss this matter going forward, not, you know, with this recommendation that are coming from the forward-looking evaluation or whatever that is, performance review. Thank you very much. So I wish, I just want to express that I'm not in agreement to the decision now.
Yes. Eamon, my understanding of this item is, well, my understanding of the English is further consideration is just that. It is consideration. It's applying thought and conversation to something. Is there a verb you would prefer in this context? My having clarified that, of course, this does not oblige, compel, or conclude anything other than that we would consider to think and speak about this item as necessary. Eamon.
Thank you very much. Could we just say that we'll further consider the outcome of the GCF, the performance review of the GCF? We'll further just consider the outcome of the performance review of the GCF without specifying the context or whatever is going to be discussed. That will help us, just look at all different issues here. I don't want to be limited to the forward-looking performance review. That's not the intent, that's not the objective, and that's not the agreement. We want to discuss the findings in the general context, and then we'll see what we can do in the next meeting. Thank you.
Fine, so just to check I understand correctly, I mean, you're suggesting that in paragraph C, we should amend paragraph C to read, decides to further consider the outcomes of the forward-looking performance review, etc. Is everyone following Eamon's suggestion? Okay, paragraph C, decides to further consider the outcomes of the forward-looking performance review and the Secretariat management response, etc. So we're deleting findings and recommendations in, and we're inserting outcomes of. Yes. Yes. Does that meets with your approval? Decides to further consider the outcomes of the forward-looking performance review, etc.
That's the same thing.
Yes. Fine.
No,
Good.
No,
Does that
it's
meet
not. No, it's not. It's the same thing. All what I'm saying is that we will further discuss the outcome of the performance review of the GCF. Not forward-looking, not whatever that is. We're just going to discuss the outcome of the GCF review, because discussion will go beyond the forward-looking. Why we're confining ourselves to the forward-looking performance review in this case. And I'm just saying that, although it was based on that, and perhaps most of the review was on that basis, I'm not going to be limited to the forward-looking review because we don't subscribe to it. It is the biggest problem that we have now in the strategic plan, and everywhere now we see it, is poisoning the whole, sort of direction, is that this forward-looking performance review, which I don't know where is it coming from, someone elected to do forward-looking performance review without getting the approval from the board, and now we're stuck with it. And that has been now adopted by the Secretariat without even the board agreeing to the forward-looking. This is the first time we ever hear forward-looking performance review, when we need to look at backward performance review, see how good, how bad, how well, how terribly we did. We're looking what to change and how to change the direction of the fund going forward. Again, this is a big problem. There is no such thing, as far as this seat is concerned, is called forward-looking performance review. And this is going to have a spillover on many other things.
Eamon, I'm going to... your point of substance, I think, is that in thinking about the strategic plan and the way forward, we are not limited to any one particular source. That of course, goes without saying. What I'm doing now, or asked the Secretariat to do, is to check back through the commissioning decisions on this so that we call the things by the right name and check whether or not this forward-looking performance review is a term of the board or some other place. And I'll revert as soon as I've checked the paperwork. So we'll keep that one in suspension. That's not item 9. We'll just hold for the moment while I'm having the paperwork checked. Okay, we've checked the paper trail on this, and the term forward-looking performance review was a title selected by the authors of the report. The decisions, in fact, refer to the performance review. So, if we amend C to read, decides to further consider, comma, inter alia, comma, the performance review and the Secretariat management response. That, I understand, meets Eamon's needs. Is that also all right for everybody else? Decides to further consider, comma, inter alia, comma, the performance review, etc. Good. I think that fixes it. Jeremiah.
No, mine is just an inquiry. If it is established based on what you are suggesting in this decision, it means that the literature that is printed, title is completely misrepresentation, which most likely will have to be rephrased, and everything in the strategic plan, the way it's been said, does it seem misleading? Invented? Is that what it is, Co-Chair?
No, I wouldn't say so, Jeremiah. The authors of the report gave it a proper name, like Joss or Jeremiah, which is fine. But they in no way, in giving it a name, to help us recognise it, in no way change the nature of the Commission behind it or the validity of its contents. So I think, no, I don't think there's any worry there. I think Eamon is pointing us to rehearsing exactly what we've got in the decisions, and to that end is making an editorial correction to the decision. Jeremiah.
Chair, while we appreciate maybe all of us did not catch this in all the literature, and now we must commend him by carrying us back to our decision. And the literature shows that we adequately describe what we want. It would have been just and fair that whatever comes out is traceable and trace to what mandated or in fact initiated the activities. So what I'm saying here looks very significant because it's not simple. Because a performance review, as instructed the IEU to do, what we have has a different name. That's not the same. And so if I'm a point is justified by our decision, substantiated by evidence and paper trail, it means we have to find a way through this decision to correct all literature relating to this, because that would be the proper paper trail.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Your point is clearly that we should be able to link back through the commissioning decisions, and the commissioning decisions refer to the performance review. So I think that there is no scope for doubt on this, but we will use that term henceforth. On the, I'm confident the Secretariat have heard that, and there will not be a confusion about the paper trail. Can I revert then to the decision as amended, with paragraph C now reading, decides to further consider, inter alia, the performance review and the Secretariat management response, meets with the board's approval. It does. Thank you very much.